And U.S. officials are now scrambling to identify the source of the most serious breach of U.S. intelligence secrets in a decade. Dozens of classified Pentagon documents leaked online, including from the CIA and other intelligence agencies, many of them labeled top secret. The leak revealing details of U.S. spying on Russia's war machine in Ukraine and secret assessments of Ukraine's combat power. And joining me now is former CIA Director John Brennan. John, this has got to be, first of all, devastating for the Pentagon, which is probably the original source, but so many people could have had access to these documents, we're told, and there's a lot of damage control. What would you be doing if you were CIA director still today?
Well, you're right, Andrea. This is a very troubling and serious breach of security. And so the heads of the intelligence community right now, I think, are scurrying to find out exactly what they can do, first of all, to mitigate the damage that is done. Obviously, the Department of Justice, FBI, and others are trying to ensure that they can follow up and find out who is leaking these documents with such malicious intent. But what I would be doing would be calling some of my allies and partners and reassuring them that we're taking all the appropriate measures, that this was a very unfortunate development, but that I'd like to think that our resolve in terms of the combined and united support for Ukraine is going to continue irrespective of this security breach.
What do you think is the most serious potential damage here? Is the worst damage the Russian sources and methods behind the inside information from Russia on the defense ministry?
Well, as you pointed out, these documents are coming from various different agencies and on different topics as well. And so I think the greatest concern is that some of our sources, both human as well as technical collection systems, could be compromised as a result of this. And so I know that my former colleagues are now trying to mitigate that damage and to see what we might be able to do to preserve what are clearly very sensitive collection systems. Again, human sources whose lives may be at risk now because of this exposure, and also these technical collection systems that we rely on and that the Ukrainians and others rely on to be able to withstand this Russian assault on Ukraine.
If it were human, would we have to try to extract someone?
Absolutely. I'm sure there's around-the-clock efforts right now to try to, again, understand exactly what might be compromised as a result of these broad array of documents that have been released. And so if there are sources in harm's way, there will be efforts made to try to make sure that they're gotten out of harm's way very quickly.
Is there a point where the so-called Five Eyes, our allies, the closest allies, with whom we trade most of our intelligence, do they become concerned about sharing intelligence with us, sharing any kind of secrets? This coming right after of course, Mar-a-Lago documents. We don't know what has happened to those.
And it's not just the other Five Eyes countries. I think it's countries around the world that we work with, because they share very sensitive intelligence with us from their human sources, from their technical collection systems. And they must worry that if they give it to us, but if it's released like this, what assurance do they have that we're going to be able to protect their valuable collection systems and human source networks? And so that's why I think we have to make sure that we take the measures needed to be able to mitigate this damage as quickly as possible and to do what we can to prevent any further leaks. And that's why it's so important, this counterintelligence investigation that is underway, to find out who obviously secreted these documents out. It's clear that they appear to have been folded and then photocopies of them put out on social media. So I think there are a lot of fingerprints here that the Department of Justice and FBI can follow up on, again, to mitigate any further damage.
We're told that our reporting is that the documents are legit, but that there was some alterations. Is there some disinformation also potentially going on here?
Always a potential for that. And clearly it sounds like that there was some manipulation of some of the statistics as far as the casualties in the Ukraine theater, both on the Ukrainian side as well as on the Russian side. The Russians have very, very sophisticated information operations. They might have been able to take some of these documents off of social media, or if they had access to it separately, and be able to, again, try to alter the data or the information in there for their own purposes. So again, that's what the experts are doing right now, reviewing these documents, seeing what might in fact have been manipulated by our adversaries, but again, to try to reduce any potential further compromise of information as well as of our systems of collection.
What about the fact that some of these documents have been displayed on social media for quite some time now and not taken down, despite the stated policies of some of these forms?
It's one of the challenges of the internet. If you put something out there in social media, it quickly gravitates to all different parts of the globe. And so it's really difficult to be able to put the toothpaste back in the tube, so to speak. And so therefore, I'd like to think that responsible outlets, media outlets and others, social media platforms are going to do everything they can to try to reduce the availability of these documents that truly pose a risk and threat to our national security.
How do you compare this to the Snowden case in terms of damage?
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Snowden went directly to our adversaries and shared a lot of secrets. That, I think, damage is still something that the intelligence community is grappling with. What's unknown here is what else might be coming out or what else might have been purloined and has been shared in other ways and not just on social media. So I think it's still very early to tell exactly what the extent of this damage is.
John Brennan, as always, really appreciate your expertise. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Andrea.